Hello everyone, welcome to Booked and Rooted. Coming in today with my top 7 plants. This is my top 7 plants from one decade to the next. So I just want to share with you the plants that I am really loving and I have been really loving for the last, I would say about 6 months to a year. First plant is this one right here beside me, my fiddle leaf fig. I love the fiddle leaf fig. I love the large foliage on these plants. I love the statement that they make when when you walk into the room and you see one. I just really love them. I've not had the best success with them. I have one that's fairly small that I've had for a long time and it's been doing very well, but any other ones that I have purchased that have been larger, they have not done very well for me. Tips for these plants, one thing I do notice, and I've been told many times too as well from other people, is that they don't like to be moved. So find a spot for your fiddle leaf fig and leave it there. Don't move it around and try to find different spots for it. Find a good spot. I noticed that they do like to be in the sun. They do like to be in a either east or west facing window, at least for me, because that's all I have. I have east facing and west facing windows, so I don't have any other options, but I noticed that they tend to flourish in one of those windows. Next plant is my Monstera adansonii. Really love this plant. I've had this plant for quite some time. It's still in this hanging basket that it's been in for as long as I've had it. I'm afraid to repot it. That's why I have not repotted it. However, I have propagated it many times and made other plants. I have some cuttings at work that are growing, and I have another one that I've pretty much made into another plant. This is what I've made into another plant. I had this staked up and it was staked up real high. So what I decided to do is get like a trellis to kind of let it grow in the trellis, because I didn't want it to get really high like that. And it was also growing very leggy, so I didn't want to, I didn't want to take that chance of doing that. Tips for the Monstera adansonii is to let it dry out. I noticed with Monsteras in general, let them dry out and water them, when they get dry. Don't really necessarily water them when they're just, you stick your finger down there and there's a little bit of moisture. Just let them dry out. They tend to like that. And I've noticed that that has been successful for me. Now I do notice that I do get some yellow leaves from time to time, but I just still feel like letting them dry out works better for that plant. And my Pilea. I have had kind of a love-hate relationship with this plant. This plant is very great. This is the offspring of the Pilea that I had before that died, that just did horrible for me. But I've noticed that this one has grown tremendously, is doing very well. I have more than one Pilea. I have 3 total. They're all doing fairly good. This one is doing the best. And it has all kinds of babies coming in on it. It's just doing very well. Tips for the Pilea. I've noticed that it does like to be in the sun in either west or east facing windows. Ever since I've put my Pilea in the windows, water them like once a week, week and a half, just depends. They have taken off. They have done great. I've stopped dropping leaves. They've done really good. My next plant is the Cebu Blue. Cebu Blue. This plant was so hard to find for me. I went through so much trying to find this plant. I have a hanging basket. This is just the offspring of the plant that I currently have. This is also some of the cuttings that a friend of mine sent me. So this plant is doing really well, and I just have this in front of the window. This is just a second plant, pretty much. My hanging basket is doing very well. It seems like a pretty low maintenance plant, to be honest. As far as tips for the Cebu Blue, I water it like every 2 weeks. I rotate it in the hanging basket. I kind of rotate it so you can kind of get, you know, a full range of sun. Other than that, it's pretty easy to take care of. Now, it is another plant that I have in a hanging basket that I'm afraid to repot. However, it's fine where it's at, so I'm not going to mess with it. I have no intention of repotting it anytime soon. My next plant, now this one I haven't had that long, and I have had it before, and I've not had a good time with it, but it's the Marble Queen Pothos. This one is doing very, very well. I got this one in a hanging basket. I've had it for like probably 2 months now, and it's just doing very, very well. It does like to be in the window as well. I'm noticing what plants like to be in the window, what plants you don't need to really have in the window. I noticed a difference in the way that they're acting. When I didn't have that plant in the window, I had it like pretty much, you know, really far away from the window. I was getting yellow leaves constantly. I put it in front of the window. After a week or so, it just got so vibrant. The yellow leaves stopped, and that's what works. And that is my tip for this plant, is it likes to be in front of the window. I water it probably every 2 weeks. It doesn't need to be watered that often. I definitely check to make sure. One thing I've had to get on myself about is my watering schedule for my plants is a Saturday. I water all my plants on Saturday. And what I was doing at one point is just watering everything. I wasn't checking to make sure it needed water. I was just watering everything. So I've gotten out of that and started to make sure that it needs watered. And also, since now that it's winter, the plants don't need watered as much. So my bigger plants, I've started to water them like every 2 weeks. Like, you know, kind of instead of every week, water them every 2 weeks, but also make sure that they actually need water. Next plant is my Chinese evergreen. This plant is doing very, very well. I have had it in the semi-hydro from the time that I got it. I actually split this plant into 2 plants. This is the one I have in the semi-hydro. As you can see, it's doing very well. It really loves that medium. The plant that I have in soil, I have it at work. It's doing really well too. However, it has not grown this much. It's not as full as this one. And I've had a lot of leaves. Not a lot of leaves, but I've lost quite a few leaves on it, but it's still doing pretty well. This one, I think I've only lost like 1 or 2 leaves that I can think of. This one's doing very, very well. Tips for the Chinese evergreen. I would say they don't really need a lot of sun because I keep this one pretty far away from my window. And even the one at work doesn't really get much sun because I'm in an office building, so there's really no sun in there. But I would say for the one that's in soil, let it dry out. Because I noticed that when I was just watering it every week without really checking, that's when I was starting to get the yellow leaves. The one that's in leca, I don't really know. I mean, I just change the water maybe like once a month. Like, you know, kind of flush the water out once a month, and that's it. And it's happy, it's fine. I haven't had any issues with it. That I would say is a good method for that particular plant. And yeah, there it is. And my last plant in my top 7 list would be the lovely Monstera. I love the Monstera. I cannot wait till my Monsteras grow with big leaves, with slits in them. I have slits in some of my leaves, but not as much as I would like. But I know that that comes with time, that comes with age of the plant, and eventually I will get that. I love the Monstera. One of the reasons I love the Monstera and the Monstera family is that they're so easy to propagate. Like this plant, I cut it from the plant, my mother plant, put it in this water, and like, look at that. The nodes came out, there's roots growing on the nodes. It's great. So I'm gonna leave this in here, and I'm gonna see how much I can get out of this plant from this, you know, just this water method. I'm gonna just keep it like this. I'm not really trying to propagate it to put it in soil. I'm not in a rush to do that. I just wanna keep it like this in this jar. I got a jar with a tapered neck because I wanted to make sure that the plant has some support. But yeah, it's doing very, very well in this jar, and I'm really excited to see how much it grows, see how healthy these leaves stay. The nice thing is these leaves are already split leaves, So I already have a good like foundation with these. So hopefully they just continue to split and continue to grow. Tips for Monstera. Same thing with both of my Monstera types. Letting them dry out between watering. That's it. They also do like sun. I've also noticed that putting them in front of a window, like I've said for most of these plants, they have flourished. They have done a lot better. However, Monsteras are very tolerant. They can grow in low light areas, but I prefer them to be in the sun because from what I've heard, if they're getting a lot of sun, that does help with the fenestration. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Something like that. The splits. That helps with the splits. It helps them achieve more splits. So that is, to me, a foolproof method. So there it is. There are my top 7 plants. Now I did, previously, about 8 months ago, I did a top 5 plants. So some of these plants are still in that top 5. Still in this top 7. So if you want to watch that one, I will link that one below as well. You can check out that plant and see how much of a change I have made, if any. And overall, like I said, I still love all my plants, regardless, but there's just some of them that really, they're easy for me. They're growing very well. I'm starting to learn from them. They're a learning experience because, like I said, with the fiddle leaf fig, I've had trial and error. I've lost some of those, but I'm not giving up on it. I want to still try to cultivate the plant and make it work for me because I know that I can. I just need to figure out what works. So one of the things I do notice, and one of the mistakes that I know that I have made was moving it around. So I'm hoping that, knowing that now, going into this, with these new plants that I've acquired, because I have a total of 3 fiddle leaf figs. I have the very small one. I have this beautiful, huge one that I just got yesterday, actually. And then I have another one that's bigger, but it's not as full. So knowing what I know, and from my experience before with the fiddle leaf fig, I know what to do and what not to do, so to speak. So we'll see how well that works out for me. So what about you? What are your top 7 plants of the decade or of the year or whatever you want to call it? Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay booked and rooted.